Hello and welcome, everybody out there in Union Arena Land. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We are going over how to set up a proper webcam in order to play in online competitive events. Now, this is not meant for anybody who's going to be playing casually. If you're playing casually just for fun on webcams, honestly, you won't need anywhere near as high of a requirement as you would at an actual event that has winnings. Since Union Arena now has its first official online events happening where you get real prizing worth real money, it's very important to make sure that you have a proper setup that is both judge-friendly and clear to your opponent. You need to make sure that you have everything clearly displayed for all of them, and you have the proper equipment and internet speed in order to handle all of that. So we're just going to go over how to make sure you set all of this up, what equipment you need, and anything you need to be aware of when you're playing the game specifically. So let's first start with the camera that we are going over. The camera I am using is different from the one that I am recommending. The one that I recommend for any competitive play at minimum is a Logitech C920. Now, that is a very affordable, very widely accepted webcam that a lot of people have been using inside of this space. Its original design came out like 15 years ago or something like that, and to this day, it is one of the best 1080p cameras out there. Its resolution is high enough. If you have enough brightness and natural lighting around you or artificial lighting around you, it'll be perfectly fine. Now, personally, I am using in OBSBOT. This one is a little bit more expensive. I managed to get mine on Black Friday on sale, but that is mostly because I do this for entertainment and streaming purposes. So I want a higher quality even beyond what other people would have for that. If you want to get what I have, I'll have a link to both down in the description below. But the important thing to remember is I'm recommending this specific camera at a minimum because a lot of people try getting cameras that display that they can do 1080p or they can do 4K or they can do 2K. A lot of the time, the cameras can't actually do that with what you are doing unless you have a lot of technological knowledge about cameras, your PC, your internet speed, everything like this. All of these can be factors for what you are doing. So please just make your life easier. Instead of getting the camera that's $10 cheaper, get this specific one because you know it works properly for what we are doing. C920, fantastic camera for it. If you want to go a little bit above that, get yourself an OBSBOT. As you can see, my play area is very clear, very high resolution, very, very good right now. So definitely look out for getting either one of those things. Now, when you get your camera, your positioning is incredibly important. I have a directly above the board positioning because I have two stands. Most people aren't going to be doing that. You want a minimum of one stand, or you want to be able to attach it to the top of your monitor that sits directly in front of your play area. The reason I have two stands and going for the overhead is because I want to be able to zoom in and zoom out on my play field to make sure everything is within view of my opponent with a little bit of extra slack room so that there's no questioning if anything is happening or going on. If you have something that is too close or too low down, say eye level and then zooming into it, if your playmat is as wide as mine and I have a standard playmat for most TCGs, then you might not have all of your play field available. It is both players' responsibility to have a clear and concise play field while playing in any online event. So if you do not have it, anticipate that your opponent could just shark you out of being able to play the match or even in the event itself. So make sure you have something that's a little bit higher up so that you can zoom in, zoom out, and have a much wider view of everything. I'm sorry, gamers. For a lot of people, if you don't have a monstrously large desk like I do, you're going to have to vacuum underneath your chair. It is what it is, okay? You're going to have to do it. So just suck it up for the vacuuming part, but get that overhead. Now, if you go for the one that just sits on the monitor itself, I don't have that set up right now, but you can angle it downwards so it hits the play field, and it'll be hitting the bottom half of you as well during that. That is perfectly acceptable. You just need to make sure the monitor is far enough back away from your play area so that you are able to get that angle. Remember, cameras, they cone outwards. Everything it sees cones outwards in front of it. So you need to make sure that you have everything properly set up for all of that. The next thing I want to talk about is your play zone and layout. As you can see here, my entire play zone is completely clear to you to be able to see. I have my life situated on the side. You can see exactly how many cards I have, and you can see my deck. There is nothing or no situation where anything leaves this play zone. Now, I've set up my camera to be able to show you that this is exactly what you need to be doing, okay? So you are drawing your cards, and I'm holding my cards up clear. You can see the cards in my hand. You can see that nothing is entering into the zone. This is to make sure nobody's sleight of handing any cards in or out. We in Union Arena hopefully don't have to deal with this, but as somebody who has played competitive online TCGs for a long time, anticipate that this is going to be happening to you, okay? So just go through it, go through the processes. We have rules in place in order to discourage and to stop people from doing stuff like this. So the play zone needs to be clearly laid out such as this. Now, the reason I have my life on this slight angle is because the resolution isn't as good in this area for me. It's darker over here. So if I had it all lined up, my opponent might not be able to see how many life I concisely have. Remember, it is both players' responsibility to have a clear and concise play zone. So if I have everything slightly angled like this, you can see the corners and see how much life I have. When you are revealing your life, reveal the card. Do not go, oh, that's a get trigger, and move it to your hand. Doesn't matter if it is or isn't. Just do it just like this. And the other important thing to do is when you draw a card, or any amount of cards, draw them one at a time. When you get your life, what I like to do is fan out. That's 4 cards. I'll grab the next 3. 3. Somebody could try to shark me with that. I mean, I don't see how I possibly could have screwed that up unless I was a genius in sleight of hand or something, but somebody could have sharked me with that. I can easily just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very clear for my opponent. Make sure they're doing the exact same thing. When you are spending actions or doing anything, rest your action first. Don't get caught by doing any fancy or weird stuff going, oh, I'm going to play these things and then pay all of my APs. No, keep track of all of that so your opponent can't call you a cheater, okay? Do it precisely. That part is a little bit less, worrisome, but seriously, just be considerate of it. Now, outside of the play zone itself, it is important to know that your cards can never leave this zone. Don't ever, ever. Oh, I need to get something off my desk. Okay, well, I just so happen to have another card in here. If you have to leave your area, place a die on top of your hand, signifying how many cards you have. And leave it clearly there. I like to leave everything over top of my APs so that it can't be more clear. This is where it is. This is where it sits. I have 3 cards right here. Make sure you're being very careful with that as well. The next thing I want to go over is what type of sleeves you should be using. And I hate to do this, but because you're playing in an online event, you have to be very conscious about what sleeves you are actually using. I like to go for matte personally, but you can go for gloss. It'll be more reflective with the camera, but that's perfectly fine. The back of your sleeves can be reflective, the front cannot. I also get anti-glare sleeves. These are sleeves that Dragon Shield makes. That makes it so if there's any glare that would be happening, it gets dispersed across the entire card, so it doesn't just shine and blind you on one card and you can't see what it is. Again, I do this because I'm a content creator. I want people to see a much higher quality than what other people have to do. So I will leave that down in the description below if anybody's interested in getting it on them. One thing I will say, avoid this. If you are playing in a competitive event, do not play with black sleeves, okay? I'm sorry to have to be the bearer of bad news for this, but black sleeves have the biggest risk in this game. I am distributing these sleeves off from one another perfectly. I have a very high resolution camera. I have a light that is literally beaming down on top of this area right here. You cannot distinguish each and every single one of my lives. It is very confusing. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For me, I can see it no problem. My opponent cannot. You really don't want to be using black sleeves if you have a dark play zone as well. If you have a bright blue or white or purpley play zone, black sleeves can work perfectly fine. But because I have a darker one up here, you can clearly see. Well, you can't clearly see. That's the problem. If you are very adamant about playing with your black sleeves, I recommend you get yourself some sleeve covers. I do this mainly for decks that are highly pimped out, the decks that are really fancy for me, the ones that I have max rarity and stuff like that on. Of course, I picked some of the only cards that, there we go, yeah. Cards that are max rarity. I like to double sleeve them. This allows it so even if this was in a black sleeve, you could line it up like this, and because of the borders, you can easily tell where each of the cards would go. You can buy sleeve covers like this all over. I just got this one because it went with the Full Metal Alchemist very well. The ivory kind of looked like alchemy stuff, so I went with all of that. Next thing that I wanted to touch on is proper lighting. Now, a lot of us are gremlins that like to sit in a basement or sit down in a shed and just let it be dark all around us as we're staring at our blue screens. Let's not do that for events like this. You want it to be brighter above your station without directly beaming down on top of it. I have studio lights, so don't expect to have anything like me. But a general rule of thumb is if it's slightly too bright for you and you like things really dark, it's probably good for your opponent. You just need to make sure that it's bright enough that they can distinguish the sleeves. Lighting matters almost as much as the camera itself when it comes to quality. It is astonishing how much a simple, cheap camera can look fantastic with good lighting. It makes a world of difference. So if you need to get yourself a light, get yourself a ring light or something that sits a little higher, or just turn on the lights above your head. You can even just use one of those light stands, like the 3-tier ones I have over in the corner over there. You could just have one of those and angle it so it shines over this area, not directly onto the cards themselves, unless you have the anti-glare sleeves themselves. Lighting is so incredibly important when you are doing this. Don't be playing in the basement. Don't be playing in a very dark zone. Now, the next thing I want to touch on with all of this is you cannot have too small of a zone, okay? Don't do this if you are going to one of these events. It is very important that everything is big enough to view. Now, I have seen people with really small zones, and they have to lay out their life like this, and they take their actions, they put them over here. This isn't clear and concise to a UA player. Is this tapped or is this tapped? Which one is spent? Which one is not? I don't know. All of your life being stacked up here, and then cards that you are playing being here, and then your energy line being back here, this is too crunched in, too small. Make sure it matches UA standard zone. Now, this is not me calling out anybody who does this, because I play with people in Rumble Rama who do this, and that is a casual setting, which is perfectly fine. You do what you have to do to be able to play. But if you are playing online and you are trying to be competitive, it is important to make the judge's life easy, first and foremost, and your opponent has to be able to have clear information on your board. If something you are displaying is not clear information, it is not good enough, okay? And it is a little unfortunate if you just don't have the space to be able to do it, then you don't have the space to be able to be doing online event stuff and stuff like that. It is unfortunate, but just get yourself a stand that'll sit above everything. You can get stands that can attach to the back of your monitor and then get a camera. I got the specific OBSBOT camera that I have because it's light, it is small, and I could attach it to a monitor with an arm that can extend outwards and still sit down and view everything. But I think that covers just about everything that I wanted to go over in this video. Everybody, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want any of this equipment, you can look down in the description below. Let me know if you have any other questions down in the comments. I'd be more than happy to answer it for you. Take care.